Giving is easy and safe with our giving platform powered by SecureGive. Giving can be done from anywhere with your computer, tablet, or your mobile device. To give, simply go to the church's website, create a new account, or log in with your existing account. Simply select one-time or recurring gift. Select your donation amount, enter your payment info, and then confirm your information. Visit our website and click on the Giving button to learn more. Maybe you're an iOS or Android user. If so, you have an additional opportunity to streamline your giving with the free SecureGive app. Simply search SecureGive in the App Store or Google Play Market. Once downloaded, open the app and search our church name to save as your home organization. Just like with online giving, you can create a new account or use your existing SecureGive account to log in, give, and connect with us. But wait, did you also know there is now a way to participate in generosity in a way that's as easy as texting a friend? With Text to Give, you can give using your mobile device by following these 3 easy steps. Number 1, text the keyword and amount you'd like to give to our church's Text to Give number. Number 2, follow the series of prompts and set up your SecureGive Text to Give account. Here, choose your desired payment method. And finally, number 3, save the number as a contact in your phone for future use. Text to Give only takes seconds to use and is the perfect way to connect with our ministry through giving.
What defines you? Is it the people around you? Where you work? What you've done? You are more than the sum of your experiences. You have a story, a history. And no matter what your past may hold, no matter where you've been, there's a place for you in a bigger story. A story bigger than your fears, bigger than your dreams, bigger than your past. Starting Point. Find your place in the story.
Oh dear clarity, please come. Show me what has just begun. All the hopes and fears I've ever known. Oh, and faith come back to me. Once convinced, once believed. Now a mystery I'll seek alone. If I've learned anything
Come, let us sing for the joy of the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and extol him with music and song. For the Lord is the great God, the great King above all gods. In his hand are the depths of the earth, and the mountain peaks belong to him. The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Come, let us bow down in worship. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our God.
Good morning. Why don't you stand and sing with us? Promise maker, promise keeper, finish what you begin. Our provision through the desert, you see it through to the end. You see it through to the end. Lord our God is ever faithful, never changing through the ages. From this darkness you will lead us, and forever we will say, you're the Lord our God. In the silence, in the waiting, still we can know you are good. All your plans are for your glory. Yes, we can know you are good. Yes, we can know you are good. The Lord our God is ever faithful, never changing through the ages. From this darkness you will lead us, and forever we will say, you're the Lord our God. We won't move without you. We won't move without you. Well, good morning and welcome. Well, today we're glad you are here. So it is so great to see you all here in person, and it is great to have you guys online with us. So if you're newer with us, welcome. What a beautiful day. So upstate in New York here, it is just gorgeous, and I hope it's gorgeous the rest of this week. It's been a wonderful summer, hasn't it? It's just like, wow. So anyway, so we're glad you're here, and if you're new with us, if you're online, there's some tabs up above your head there on the online screen. You can get to the kids stuff and all that kind of stuff. And if you are a guest, we have a gift for you, and it is this wonderful book. It's called How Good Is Good Enough by Andy Stanley, and it's a really great book. It's an easy read. You can read it in the afternoon, that kind of thing. So if you'd like to get a hold of this, they're in the back here. Online, just let us know, and we'll ship that out to you and get that to you as soon as we can, so you have something to read this summer. So. If you're supporting this ministry, we want to say thank you so much, because you guys make it all happen, and we're able to do things like meet together, like broadcast live, and like do our National Night Out, which is coming up. You're going to be hearing more about that, but it's an evening where we just support our local police and fire department, and they're going to be out front here, and that's just going to be an exciting night, especially for the kids, because there's games and stuff they could play. But you'll be hearing more about that in the weeks ahead. But let's pray together. Why don't you stand with me and let's pray together, okay? So, Father, thank you so much that we could gather, and what a privilege it is to live in a country that we have the freedom to meet together, to assemble together, and to pray to your God. May we never lose that. May we, again, become a nation that people look towards to find hope, to find peace, security, but most of all, to find faith. So, Lord, I just pray that your people everywhere around the world will just rise up and be the hope and the light that so many other people need right now. We're living in a world that just seems to be getting darker every day. And, Lord, you put us here, and you allow us to stay here for a purpose to reach. And so, Lord, help us to continue to connect to as many people as possible to tell them about Jesus Christ. Thanks for this opportunity we get this morning to not only get into your word and what you say, but, Lord, to encourage, inspire, to just be a beacon of light to others around us this morning. And most of all, just a chance to worship you, our God, together. So, Lord, as we sing this next song together, may we sing it to you. May our thoughts and our minds be directed towards you, our God. We ask this through Jesus Christ. Amen.
If more
phone right now, but maybe I just don't want to. Just kidding, leave a message.
Taylor, hey, it's me, Trevor. I'm outside the concert, wondering where you're at. I think I'm in the right spot, and I think it's already started, and I was... Hello? Hello?
Can't get on the phone right now, but maybe I just don't want to. Just kidding, leave a message.
Hey, your voicemail cut me off. So what I was saying was I'm outside...
Can't get on the phone right now, but maybe I just don't want to. Just kidding, leave a message.
Okay, I'll talk faster for whatever reason.
Can't get on the phone right now, but maybe I just don't want to. Just kidding, leave a message.
Funniest thing, it keeps cutting me off. Ah!
Can't get on the phone right now. Can't get on the phone right now. Can't get on the phone right now, but maybe I just don't want to.
You're killing me! You're killing me!
But maybe I just don't want to.
Hey, I'll talk really, really fast because for whatever reason your little voicemail message thingy keeps cutting me off. Maybe it's because you have a cheap phone. Yeah, I said it. Hey, look, I see the writing on the wall. I am here, you invited me, and I'm standing out here like some dork waiting for you, huh? I got stood up by a buddy. What is that about? This is so you. This is so high school all over again. You get some more important friends, and me, I'm left like some chump. And you will not have me, Mr. Trevor, to kick around anymore. Do you hear me? No more. Bro!
Mailbox is full.
Full of that.
Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I tried to call you, but my phone's jacked up. Anyway, the reason I'm late is I ran into this guy who was selling his tickets. You're gonna love this, okay? Get this, box seats, all you can eat food, the best seats in the house. And the best part, my treat. I mean, think about it. You're my best buddy, right? I mean, what better way to say thank you than these? Hang on, I was expecting a call. Just take a minute. Oh, it's a message from you. And another one. And another one.
So we all have them. They're around. Somewhere we run into them. Maybe it's at work, or maybe if you play on a sports team, or maybe they're your next door neighbor. Sometimes they're in your family. Probably every family has one. Maybe you even live with one. Hopefully not. But they're one of those people. And you know who I mean. You know, they're the ones you try to avoid because they can make you angry. They get under your skin, you know, because they are critical. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, they're going to say something that is just critical of you. If you have something to say, right, they'll cut it down. They'll usually say something, but it's never a compliment, right? Because some of those people are, they're arrogant. They're just, wow, you know, they know everything about everything. And so if you start about science, you start talking, they know. If you start politics, they know. Start talking about, you know, I don't know, medicine, they know. Knitting, they know. They just know everything about everything, and they just know it, and they know it better than you. And so they can be mean. And they just, wow, you know, they don't care about your feelings because they're usually self-centered, and they don't know they're self-centered, but they are, you know. And they say things that are mean, they apply things that are mean, and some of those people, they can be controlling. And they want to not only just give you their opinions, but they whatever you do, it's not right. Whatever you don't do, that's not right either. Whatever you say, that's not right. And they try to manipulate, try to control you. And you know them because you see them post on social media, and they go on this rant and rave, and then everybody jumps in and rant and rave, and you can't miss them at a party or at a family gathering because, you walk by and like, oh, there they go again, Uncle Harry's doing his, and they're angry, and they're angry at something, and then they make you angry because somewhere in that whole mess, there's something that offends you, and it just gets under your skin. Here's the thing that we need to grasp, okay? Being offended is inevitable. Okay, so just get used to it. I mean, you're going to be offended. Somewhere, somehow, somebody is going to say something or do something that's going to offend you. And you could be listening to the news. You could be watching it on social media. You could hear a story. Somebody will say something, or somebody doesn't say something, or somebody responds in a certain way, and you don't like it. You don't agree with it. So how do you typically respond? How do you respond when somebody offends you, when they literally get under your skin and you just want to shout, or you want to type back, or you want to send an email or text them, or you just want to do something? And I see it. I see the posts, and I got friends out there that are those people, and it's not so bad when it's out there, when it's some subject where it's like, that's not a big deal. It's like, okay, so that could offend me if I want. But when it gets close to home, when somebody says something that, like, okay, now you're stepping on my toes, right? And all of a sudden it gets at you. I was meeting with a friend years ago. We'd gotten together, and we hadn't seen each other in a long time. And I got my, I don't want to call them idols, but I got my heroes, okay? Heroes of the faith, people I look up to. And I know they're not perfect, okay? They don't got it all right. I don't agree with them on everything. But, I got my heroes. And all of a sudden, in the middle of this, a little coffee kind of get together, he just started picking on one of my heroes. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? I don't know this guy personally. He's one of my peers, one of the guys I look up to. And I was like, it was like one of those things where, like, where did this even come from? But somewhere, this was a pet peeve of his, and he would just want to make sure everybody knew that this person had this view. And, as we're getting into this conversation, I'm like, wow. And he didn't believe that this guy believed in the scriptures. Like, he wasn't wholeheartedly, all into the scriptures. Like, do you know this guy? Have you read the articles? Oh, yeah, I saw the interview. And I was like, wait, you saw the whole interview? You saw one little clip on YouTube or something like that? Well, I saw the little clip, and it was like, I heard him say it. I was like, man, you got to take it in context, right? And it was getting under my skin, right? Somewhere, somehow, somebody is going to say something or do something that affects you. They could pick on the car you drive, or the clothes you wear, or the TV show you listen to, or what you believe, what you eat, just on and on and on. Maybe this is why when the Apostle Paul was writing to the churches, which when he started these churches, he then writes some of these letters, and maybe he understood this. And he said this. He said, he's writing to the church in Ephesus, and he says, in your anger, do not sin. Now, the good news is you could get angry and not sin, okay? So some of you are like, wow, I didn't know we could do that. Okay. Because I get angry, right? And that's not a sin. No, it's not a sin. It's what you do with it, right? People will do things or say things that will make you angry. And the question is, how do you respond? How do you respond to that anger? As a kid, I used to watch the series, The Incredible Hulk. And it was a TV series out there, so maybe some of you remember that, or some of you seen all reruns. And David Banner, who's the Hulk, in case you didn't know that, that's a spoiler alert, but so he becomes the Hulk when he gets angry, right? And in the show, there was this news reporter that's always trying to chase the Hulk and find out who the Hulk is, and he knows David Banner sort of knows him. And they get into these heated debates all the time. And they show this always in the, as the previews as they're going into the show. And he goes right at the news reporter, he goes, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry, It's just like one of those things. So I don't know, do people like you when you're angry? Because most people don't like us when we're angry, right? Because sometimes we turn into an ugly green monster, What happens when you get angry? Do you burst out? Is that like your first response, Do you shout, Do you post it on Facebook? What do you do? Or do you Do you stuff it? Because a lot of people stuff anger, and sometimes we think, oh, I don't have an anger problem, but it leaks. Okay, it does, it leaks. And if you're holding on to anger, it'll leak out. Don't worry, and people around you know because it's leaking on them, and But here's the thing that anger doesn't do. It doesn't bring you any closer to God. It just doesn't. I mean, you don't wake up in the morning and say, man, that was such a great day. I was so angry, and I just felt so close to God, and I just had so much joy, It just doesn't work that way, So Paul goes on in his warning. It says this, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry. Don't let the sun go down. So good news, if you're in a fight and it's nighttime, like the sun already went down, you got 24 hours, okay? So you're good. No, it's what Paul is saying is don't let a time period go by where you don't fix it. You don't make it right. Don't hold on to anger. Don't let it stew in there because it'll eat you away. One of my favorite, I can't say favorite story, I think one of the funniest stories that I like in Scripture in the life of Jesus was he was going along speaking, that's what he did, right? And he's going along, and his 12, his little cohorts with him, and they're all hanging out with him, and Jesus is, going from town to town. And they come across these people, at least to the 12, it was like, they're those people, right? And they were preaching about Jesus. And the 12, they got really upset. They're like, how dare they? Jesus, do you see what they're doing? They're talking about you over there. And they're because they're the 12, they're the in crowd, man, and they're with Jesus, and they know it all, right? Because they're with Jesus. And here's this group of people, they're talking and they're preaching Jesus. One of them goes, should we bring fire down from heaven on them? And it's it's comical because they're dead serious. We got to destroy those people, because, Jesus is oh my goodness. Now, I know Jesus never rolled his eyes because that's not a good thing to do. But if I was Jesus, that's what I would have done. I would be oh my goodness. But there were times when Jesus does say, okay, how long am I going to put up with these guys? I mean, that's a modern translation, but that's basically what he said, because sometimes, wow, this is the 12, and they got angry and they got upset. There's subtle ways we can express our anger. A good subtle way is you just go, right? You ever do that, right? Maybe your mom did that, right? Go practice that with me. It feels good, right? Right? How many of you do that, right? Come on. You need to get out. He's like, right? Sometimes that's yourself, right? But usually it's at other people, and they know you're angry. You just have this subtle way not so subtle way of showing it, right? Sometimes we roll our eyes. Sometimes we just avoid people. If you're married and you're fighting with your spouse, right, you sleep back to back, because it's we're just angry tonight, so it's really nice. Somebody gave us a queen or a king size bed. We went from a queen size to a king size bed. Man, you can be on the other side of the room, it's so what do you do? How do you express it, right? So Paul goes on and he says, here's a reason why it's so important. He goes, don't sin, right? Do not in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. This is why. And now, at first glance, when you read that, you're okay. You sort of get that whole impression where you ever catch a door, you're carrying something and somebody open the door and you catch the door and that kind of thing is don't give him a foothold, don't, so he might sneak in the door. That's not what this is at all. He said, this is, the word for anger is topos, and it literally means a place or a room. So when we hold on to anger, even past the sundown thing, okay, when we hold on to it for length of time, we literally give the enemy a place. And the longer you have given him that room, the more comfortable he is. So if you got angry when you were 10, okay, and you're still holding on to that, what mom and dad did or what that 5th grade teacher did or, what the guy at work did, 10 years ago, if you're holding on to that anger, you've given him this room. And you said, here, it's yours. And by now, okay, there's carpet down, okay, he has a nice couch, he has a big screen TV, you've given him Netflix and Hulu and you name it. He's just enjoying. You got a little refrigerator, right? He's just comfortable. You've given him a room. That's why Paul is warning us. He said, don't give him a room. We may think that our anger is okay. And we may think, you know what, it's okay, it's just me, it's just, I'll deal with it someday or whatever. But when we give him a place, literally a place in our lives like this, we may think that it's under control in us. We may think that's not affecting us. But the reality is, by giving him a place, we are now giving him access to everybody in our lives. We are giving him a place where he can now attack. If you got kids, he can now attack your kids. If you're married, he can now attack your spouse. He can now get into your marriage because you've allowed him this place because of the anger. He can attack your friends, your family. He can attack the church by giving him that place. If we live a life that's filled with anger, where we're easily offended, we give a place to the enemy to influence, to pry into, to mess with our lives. And here are some of the ways that the enemy does that. He tries to destroy us by distracting us. That's a good way. And it's easy to get distracted, isn't it? I mean, how many of you walk into a room and then you get there and you're like, I know I came in here for something, right? And I know they say that happens when you get older, but it happens when you're young too, right? All of a sudden you're on the computer and you're working and an email comes in, you're like, oh, okay. All of a sudden you get, oh, wow, text, So, no, it's just my brother. Hey, he says hi, by the way. Just, right, it just, all of a sudden you're like, you're at a dinner table, you're in a conversation, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, just wait a second, let me check my phone, right? And we easily get distracted. That's what the enemy does. He distracts us from what is important to other stuff. When we're angry at whatever, okay, we focus on the things that someone else is doing, something else that's making us angry, instead of focusing on the things that are important. And then we get angry about those things. Like, did you hear what Disney is doing right now? Right? Now, so where's your thoughts? I didn't hear anything this week. Did Disney do? Right? And that's where we focus on, and it takes us off of where we should be. The enemy divides us. And so not only does he distract us, he divides us. And it's easy to disagree, okay? It's easy to disagree. And it's okay to disagree. And we've come to a place where we're saying it's not okay to disagree anymore. And today, what has happened, and we can blame whoever we want, okay? But let's face it, we're getting bombarded with the media, with our culture, with our government. Everybody's creating these points of contention. And we have more points of contention than we ever had before. And these points of contention cause disagreement. They cause us to divide. And why? Because, you see, if we're unified, we can work together, we can do things. But if we're divided, right, then other things happen to us. So we got to keep the enemy wants to keep us divided. And think of all of the things that divide us anymore. I mean, just think of the topic of men and women and how many things we could talk about, right? Right there, right? Okay? And now we've created a whole bunch of other stuff revolving around that. It's like, oh my goodness, I thought it was just hard enough just dealing with them because men and women are so different, right? And then you add in, you got in, environment and politics and health care and guns or no guns or pharmaceutical drugs or drugs that are illegal. Should we make them legal? I mean, you could go on and on and on. Saving lives. We have so many points of contention that if you talk to somebody long enough, you will disagree about something. And so guess what we do? We stop talking. We stop hanging out. We stop having deeper conversations because I don't know if I want to get there, because if we talk long enough, we're going to get to something, right? And the enemy will try any way he can to divide us. He divides us in families and friends. And you all see this firsthand. It's not a surprise. He divides us in the churches. In the church, man, the church has been so divided and so messed up. And then he tries to discredit us. And that's really big. Because when we're divided and we don't have the same influence because we're not on the same page. We focus on what we're against instead of what we're for. And evil forces will work using anger that weakens us because it focuses on those things. And our witness of love and compassion and just loving people where they're at and with the hope where God can bring them, that all goes away because we're just angry and we're focusing on those things. So Paul says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger, and do not give the devil a foothold. Make a decision not to let time go. Don't go to bed angry. Not at your spouse if you're married, not at your kids, not at your coworker. So make a phone call or stop over. Don't text them, okay? That's just messed up, okay? Seriously, I'm sorry. Come on, like, what is that? Like, people do that. And I'm like, really? Like, in a text, you can't, like, just call up and say, hey, I said something that just, I know it probably bothered you. I know it bothered you because you said, I'm sorry. Hey, can we give it? To ask questions like, would you forgive me? To ask questions like, hey, listen, I know we were debating there a while. Are we okay? Right? Because you could debate issues. You can have fun, and we all have different opinions on things. Again, we have so many areas of contention, right? But we can talk about them and still be okay in a relationship, right? Because otherwise we can't have healthy debates. We might as well just keep our mouth shut, right? Are we okay? Are we okay? It's a great question. But don't text, don't email, because people take it wrong. And then you put it in capital, because I understand this. When you capitalize in texting, it's yelling, right? I learned that early on because I was texting people and like, how come you're yelling at me? Like, I wasn't yelling. I was just, people take so much out of a text or an email. It's like, there's no emotions. You can't hear voice inflection. You can't see my face. You have no idea what I'm saying. It's just words, okay? Don't take it the wrong way because we have a tendency to take it the wrong way, right? So just talk. Paul goes on, he says this, he says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth. Wow. Don't let it slip out. And so we're like, but it's only words, it can't, only words. Jesus said that out of the overflow of our heart, the mouth speaks. Wow, right? So if we care about our heart, we are caring about what comes out of our mouths. So Paul says, speak only what is helpful for building others up. So you use words that build each other, which is not easy, right? It's not easier to know what words build each other up. Because for sometimes, one word could build somebody up, and for the other person, that same word could tear them down, right? And you're like, I gave that same compliment to somebody at work, and they were like, wow, this is all. And I give it to this person, my neighbor, and they're like, what do you mean, right? You're like, wow. Paul's like, it's not that easy. It's more than just words. So he goes on, he says, according to their needs. According to their needs. What word do they need to build them up? For some people, they need an encouraging word. Because right now, it's like, yeah, you can do this, you can do this. To somebody else, you're like, you got to do this. Well, I don't know if you got to do this. I got the doctor's report with you. If you don't do this, this is God. That's what they need to build them up. We have to distinguish which one it is. That's not easy. It's hard. Paul says, give them the encouraging words according to their needs. Throughout, our time, we talk about men and women, different issues, right? Men are known to be a little bit more abusive in their language, okay? Now, I know some of that's changing. Unfortunately, it's changing in the worse, not the better, but, men can be very abusive, and women can be very intimidated by that. But sometimes it's reverse. We don't talk about that either, but words can be hurting. Years ago, Julie and I went to meet with a couple, and the husband and I had gotten together, and we were chatting, and what came up in that conversation was his wife was very verbally abusive, and hurtful words, and it was hurting him. He felt like worthless. He felt like he wasn't a man. He felt like he couldn't stand up to her. And I was like, oh man, I hurt for you, I said, you need to talk to her. I can't talk to her. It was at that point. And so I said, well, why don't we get together and why don't we try to bring this around so we can help you, okay? And then you guys are going to need some more counseling and stuff like that, but we can at least get you to talk about this, right? And so we set up this time to go to get together with them, and so we sat down and had it started, little chit-chat kind of conversation. Well, I don't know what transpired between the time I met with him where we're gonna try to deal with this a little bit, at least get the ball rolling in the right direction, right, to try to clean this up. But somewhere between that conversation and the conversation we are now having, the four of us, something happened, okay? And it went from a little pleasant conversation where we thought we were going to help this guy to the two of them just came and attacked us. And everything we were doing was wrong. And how dare we do this and this and this. It was like, oh my God, like I felt blindsided, right? And what did it do? Discredited, divided, messed up, distracted, and lost. That relationship was lost, totally lost. Words can hurt. And words are not just for those people, but Paul goes on, he says, that it may benefit those who listen. So there's a couple nuances. One is that it may benefit, because there are some people who just don't want to change. So no matter what you say, whether encouraging or building up or trying to inspire, they're just not there yet. It goes back to where Jesus makes the comment, do you want to get well? And I think there's more and more people in our culture, they just don't want to get well. They don't want to get better. They don't want to change it. And so those words, it's not going to benefit them because they honestly don't want to listen. But it also implies, too, that the idea of those who are listening, those who are watching, how you're responding and how you're interacting with people. Is if you've ever been to a counselor, and I highly recommend it. I think counselors are awesome. A good counselor. You got to find a good counselor. But they're great because it's a sounding block. It's somebody you can bounce off of, and they can tell you, no, you're out to lunch, or no, you're right on. You're doing the right thing. That's what they're there for. Especially if you go as a couple, because what's awesome is all the stuff that you think you're right on, you find out that you're wrong. And a counselor's really good at that because they can decipher through all that mess. And anyway, But one of the things a counselor will do is they'll tell you never use the word never. Okay. So I'm going to give you 6 tips, 6 nevers to use, okay? And in case you're offended by these, okay, Craig Rochelle came up with them, so just be mad at him, okay? So here they are. First never is this, call names. Never call names, okay? There's just no reason for it. I don't care if you don't like the person. I don't care if they're the most horrible person. But you know what? It dishonors people, and it dishonors everyone is created in the image of God, okay? Everybody. No matter how bad they are, there's a piece of them that is created in the image of our Creator. Now, they're not a child of God because you don't become a child unless you trust in Christ, but they're in the image of God. So how can we dare call somebody a name? Okay, so don't do it. Never raise your voice. Yelling doesn't get you anywhere, except you lose your throat and it hurts and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't get you anywhere. Texting with all caps doesn't get you anywhere. Okay, it just gets them angry. Okay, and even with kids. Okay, kids learn, right? Kids are so smart. They learn what the pushing points of parents are, okay? So they know when mom gets to 70 decibels, that's when I'll settle down, okay? I know that, just when mom gets to 70. So forget that. Just don't get to 70 decibels. Just teach your kids, hey, when I say it, you just do it, first time obedience, They know, they learn, right? Never get historical, okay? You're like, wait a minute, you can't cover that, don't get outraged. No, historical, okay? This is different. This is history, okay? Historical, okay? Stop pretending you have a DeLorean and you could go back in time, okay? What happened, happened. It's done. Don't bring up, do you remember 50 years ago you did or you said or you, wow, don't go there. Why? I can't even argue about that. I don't remember what happened, right? But how we bring the past back into it, okay? Remember when, and just leave the past in the past, okay? Never say never, or never say always. 2 things. So and here's why, because it's never and it's never always, okay? It just isn't. There has to be at least one point that it wasn't. So it's not true, and it doesn't help. It does not help a conversation at all, okay? Never threaten divorce. Never. If you are married, do not threaten divorce. But this can also apply to if you're a single parent with kids, that you can apply that, I'm just going to move out, or I wish you would move out. You could do it in that kind of sense too. But in a marriage, you just have to take that word out and throw it out of the dictionary, okay? It does not exist. You're not going to do it. You're not going to bring it up. You're not going to say it, right? You made a vow, right? And if you're married, you made a vow. Do you remember that vow? And you sat there, or stood there in front of others, and you said, hey, we make this vow. And you know, the pastor went on about, well, you got these rings, and the rings like have unity, and like they never end, and it's forever, you know. Right? You did that. So just take that word out of your vocabulary, because then it's not even an option that you're going to get to. You're on the same team. Julie and I used to talk about that. You know, we got wedding rings that match, although mine's a lot more worn than hers is, because hers is still all nice and pretty. But we're on the same team, right? So look at it that way. And we have the same goals and desires, even if we're going to debate them a little bit. But divorce, no, it's just not, just take it off the table, okay? It messes with our minds. It messes with your spouse's mind. It'll mess with the kids. If you got kids living at home, just take it off the table. Last and most important, okay? Never quote the pastor during a fight, okay? I don't want to hear, well, Kenny said that. No, don't bring me into your fight, okay? If I'm not in the room, I'm not there, okay? So don't bring that in there, okay? Listen, anger doesn't work. It doesn't, okay? It doesn't get us closer to God. It doesn't get us closer to each other. And I know some Christians, especially, you know, but I'm justified. This is a righteous anger, okay? You know, anger is an emotion. And as an emotion, it can motivate us. But then you got to let the anger go. You know, if you want to change something, let that anger, whatever's feeding you, to say, wow, I got to fix this. Okay? But then you let go of the anger and go fix the problem, you know? I mean, maybe it's your health. You're like, you know, I got to fix this. I got to make it right. Okay, get angry at yourself, okay? For a minute. Then make the change and make a new direction, a new course of your life, and then just let go of the anger. Let it go. It's an emotion. And it can feed us, but you got to let it go, or we feed it. So Paul says, get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, slander, along with every form of malice. Get rid of it all. Paul's leaving no room for you to sneak something in. Well, Paul didn't say, no, get rid of all of it. But you don't understand what I'm going through. Paul's like, I covered it all, okay? There's no loopholes here, okay? There's no, I can get out of it. I have a right to be angry. There's none of that, okay? There's no moral superiority. There's no, I have a reason to be critical. There's no, I deal with idiots, okay? We all have that, okay? Just, no, don't go there, okay? So he goes on, he says, be kind and compassionate to one another. Forgiving each other, just as Christ, God, forgave you. Forgiving. Let go of what those people did. Whether it's at work or in the family or your neighbor or in your small group or in the church, whatever, just let it go. So do we have to be friends again? Because some people say, well, I don't want to be friends with this. No, you don't be friends again. Because you forgive somebody, because you let go of the anger, does not mean you necessarily reconciled the relationship. It's the same thing with God, right? God sent his son because we need a Savior. And his son came and he died on the cross so that you can be forgiven. And he says, I forgave you. God says, I forgive you. Is everybody in the world forgiven? Absolutely. Everybody in this entire world is forgiven because Christ went to the cross and he covered everybody's sin. Does that mean everybody's reconciled to God? No. Because some people are going to accept that forgiveness and get to the point where it's like, wow, okay, what's going to get me to God is not my religion. It's not going to be being good enough. I can't be good enough. It's not going to be reading the Bible because that's not going to get me there. It's not praying enough, but Jesus Christ did it. And when we trust in Jesus Christ, that reconciles us to God. If we don't take that step to get reconciled, we don't get to that point where it's like, God, I'm sorry. I have messed up. And you know I messed up. I know I messed up, but I need to confess that to you. I need to make things right. That's what reconciles the relationship. If we don't do that, it's not going to be reconciled. And a lot of people choose not to do that. Now, does God like it that way? No, not at all. But he gives us a choice whether we want to be reconciled to him or not. And a lot of people choose, I don't want to be reconciled to God. I don't want to have anything to do with God. Or maybe I'll have a little to do with God, but I don't want to get to that point. So guess what? There's not a reconciled relationship. There's not a relationship there. it's still broken. And it's the same thing in our human relationships, that I can forgive somebody who did the most horrendous thing to me, and I can let it go. So it no longer has a place in my life. I no longer am holding on to anger. I've closed that room off. That room will not be open again. The TV is gone. It's cut off. I will not give that over. But it does not mean we're reconciled in that relationship. Now, would I like it to be? Yeah, probably in some cases. But I can't until that other person gets to a place where they're willing to ask forgiveness. And if they don't, I can't change that. So I let it go. But I'm not going to be angry at it anymore. I can't hold on to that anymore. We are to bring the gospel into everything we possibly can. But just because we do does not mean somebody will respond that way. How do you respond when you're angry or offended? What I'm going to do is wrap up with a prayer that David prayed, okay? And the prayer goes like this, and I challenge you to pray this. It says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in a way of everlasting." God, am I angry? Am I judgmental? Am I harboring anger from the past for when something happened to me as a kid, or early in our marriage, or because what mom did, or what mom said, or dad didn't do? Am I harboring that? Am I harboring against a brother or sister? Am I harboring that anger? God, am I self-deceived? Do I think I'm okay, but yet it keeps seeping through in my relationships, in my attitude of life? Am I still carrying that offense? You see, we only get so much time here. And we can either spend it in anger and letting that control us, or we can spend it in joy. And every time we let anger take over, we are losing time we can spend it in joy. Being offended is inevitable. It just is. Okay, you're not going to go through this day without being offended. That's okay. But living offended is a choice. You get to choose. Maybe today will be the day where you finally say, you know what, I'm going to let go, I'm going to release it. And you'll feel that joy and the sense of the Spirit that just says, wow, isn't this so much better? There are lots of things that can make us angry. But for some of us, one of the things that I think we hold on to is we're angry at God for whatever reason. And we hold that against God. And you've let the enemy have a place because you're holding on to this anger against God. And maybe today, that's the anger you need to let go of. That's the place you need to get rid of. Father, thank you so much for Jesus Christ. Thank you that there is forgiveness because of the cross. Thank you that there is hope because of the Holy Spirit who gives us joy and peace and contentment and tranquility. Lord, all of us are offended, and you know what pushes our buttons more than anybody. So reveal those to us as David prayed. Search me, God. Help me to see what pushes my buttons so that I know not to let it push me, so I could push back. So, Lord, I will not let anger control me, but I will seek to have joy instead. So, Lord, I'm asking right now, some who are holding on to an anger against you as God for whatever reason, that today is the day they let go and they find the peace that comes from knowing Jesus Christ. And may today they just trust in you. Lord, to those of us who are hurting because something done to us, something said to us, something we're holding on, whether it's in our marriage, in our family, from work, wherever. May today be the day. May this moment be the moment, Lord, because I know there's things come to our minds. May you just take it away. May we give it to you. May we shut the door and give up that place the enemy has, that we may be free. So, Lord, today, fill our lives with joy and peace and tranquility. Thank you so much for Jesus Christ. And we give these things to you in his name. Amen. Hey, have a great week, and we will see you next week as we continue our series.
I'll never second guess the little voice I heard. It's just a whisper. It sounded like a scream. I ain't never felt so free. When the day